Hello everyone and welcome back to our course. In this lecture, we are beginning our project of our Bitcoin time series Python machine learning. All right, so we're beginning here in Google Colab. Join me by navigating to colab.research.google.com. This here is an online code editor that we are going to use in order to code in Python. We're going to build our whole project here in a Colab. You can also follow along in your own code editor, but it has to have Python support. All right, first steps first, we are going to load in our data. So I've actually found data from an API. For example, I'll include for you a link if you're interested in scraping the latest data for any kind of stock that you want. In my case, I'm going to be using Bitcoin for this project. So you can visit quandl.com/tools/API. And here you can access data for any kind of coin you want. For example, let me show you if I go to this link of quandl.com/data/bchain for blockchain, and then I go to the MKPRU Bitcoin market price USD. I'm going to navigate to that link, and that is going to take me over to that API page. You do have to be logged in if you want to see the data. But what this gives you is it gives you data about the Bitcoin market price. It also has the frequency, and you can select the type of data that you want, as well as the dates, so the time. Now, I'm not logged in right now, so that's why it's not showing me, but to create an account is completely free. Okay, so I have gotten a CSV file from that API, and you can as well. I've also included it for you in the source files of this section, so just find that in the source files section at the end of this section. And I can open it for you here in a text edit. Preferably, it's best to open these files inside of something like Excel or Google Sheets. But this is the file. What we get is we get the date, and then we get the value of the Bitcoin on that date. So I've started here at 2016/0101, January 1st, 2016. And then look at this. I've gone all the way to 2021, March 2nd, where the price of Bitcoin climbed to 49,000. The first column is the index, counting off the rows. The second column is the date, and the third column is the price of Bitcoin at that date. So you can either use this CSV file that I've included for you. You can also create your own or find your own via Kaggle or Quandl or any kind of API or dataset, preferably open source, that allows you to grab data. And you just need these columns of the index, the date, and the value of your stock, whether that's a crypto, which is what we're doing in this course, a cryptocurrency, or any stock. Okay, next up, now let's actually take this CSV file and let's bring it into our Colab here. So how do I take a CSV file and bring it into this Google Colab? Well, I'm going to create a new code cell, and first I'm going to import from google.colab the files module. Then I'm going to call files.upload. This is going to prompt me to upload a file to the Colab. So anyone who runs the Colab will know that that's what they have to do. So I can run this code cell, and it's going to send me a prompt to select a file from my computer. So I can hit choose files, and then I can select our CSV file, which I called bitcoin_prices.csv. And once you get the message here, 100% done, that means the file has been 100% uploaded, which means you can now reference this file in this Colab. And if you click on this folder icon, you'll see that the CSV file will actually appear here in your files. These files, they represent the files of your Colab, and they will refresh every time the runtime gets refreshed. For example, if you refresh the page or you close it and come back, you'll have to then re-upload the file. Now, the other option is to use a file from your Google Drive. So you can actually mount your Google Drive to the Colab, and you can select this CSV file from your Google Drive if you'd like. First, you have to upload the file to your Google Drive, then you have to mount to Google Drive. and then you'll be able to reference the file from your drive by going to /content/G drive as the path, and then / whatever the name is of your file. So there are many different options for bringing a CSV file into Google Colab. This is the most straightforward way. All right, so now we have that file here, and we can reference it by its name. For example, I can take the CSV file now and I can convert it into a Pandas data frame. A data frame takes some kind of spreadsheet like a CSV file, and it can convert it to a much faster and more efficient type known as a data frame. By converting your CSV files to a data frame, it's very commonly done, and the benefits are that it's much faster in terms of processing, and also it opens up a whole library of sophisticated functions. Let me show you an example. Right, so below this first code cell, in another code cell, I'm going to call the Pandas library. So first I do have to import Pandas. Pandas is a very popular library for data science and machine learning, very commonly used. And I'm going to use the function read CSV. This function is going to take a CSV file, for example, Bitcoin prices.csv. You pass it in as a string, so make sure it's in quotes. And this function is going to take that CSV file and it is going to convert it to a data frame. So the result is actually a data frame. Then I can show you what a data frame looks like just by pasting the data frame variable. Then I'll run that code cell, and here we go. These are our results. Okay, so first we have an index column. So this is just the index, is not considered an official column. Then we have a column that says unnamed 0, so by default it gets the first value there. And this is the column we had of indices. Then we have our date, and then we have our value. All right, so let's say we want to clean up this data frame now. What if we wanted to remove this index column because it's now redundant? Now that we've converted the CSV file to a data frame, the data frame by default is going to have an index for each row, so we don't actually need this index column anymore. So how can we drop this redundant column? Well, I'm going to create a new code cell, and then I am going to call the data frame, and I'm going to use the drop function. Here I'm going to pass in the columns that I want to drop, either one, or you can drop multiple columns at a time. I'm going to pass it as an array, even though it's just the one column. Then I have to pass in here the name of the column, which is unnamed 0. All right, and following that, I also have to pass in the axis. So that is going to be after that list. I pass in an axis argument. If the axis is 0, that means you're dropping a row. If the axis is 1, that means you are dropping a column. Then we can paste our data frame a second time to see our results. Okay, I'm also going to override the value of the data frame after I drop the column, and that's going to actually show me the change. So make sure you override the variable if you want the variable to be updated. All right, and great, that is how we can bring in our Bitcoin prices and how we can convert them to a Pandas data frame, as well as how we can clean that data frame, how we can strip it of any columns that we don't need. Awesome. Okay, great. Now that we have converted our data frame, next we can format our data for Facebook Profit. So I am going to change the date and the value column names. Let's go ahead and make a new code cell here. We're going to take our data frame and we're going to use the rename function. Here I'm going to pass in a columns argument. This refers to the columns I want to rename. The key is the original name and the value is the new name. So for Facebook Profit, we have to convert date to DS and we have to convert value to Y. Then I'm also going to pass in this argument known as in place, and I'm going to set it to true. So this means that the data frame actually will be updated immediately. I won't have to reassign the value. Then I can just paste the variable name And okay, now my column names have been changed. Excellent. All right, next up, we are going to visualize our data set. So rather than just working with these numbers here and these dates, we're going to actually plot them on a graph. And this will allow us to see what kind of trend we have in the data set. So join me coming up in the next lecture where we will continue our project.